the Nat King Cole shows at 11 years old.
Yeah.
You know, so he had been playing for a long time. You know, I only just knew him from working with the Beatles. I didn't even know him up until that time. You know, so, I mean, I knew a lot of other artists, but I never ran across Billy, you know, even though he was there playing with, I guess, he played with a lot of R&B artists.
Yeah.
As a backup guy. But I think it was Little Richard? Or, I don't
Little
know.
Richard, Ray Charles. I mean, it's just a plethora of artists.
Yeah.
Iconic artists. You look at it.
I mean, you know, so it was, I mean, he didn't really want to waste any time. It was not about wasting time. It wasn't even, I mean, I can, you know, I mean, I had to, you know, I mean, it was very simple, recording process, you know, I mean, it wasn't terribly elaborate, you know, I mean, it was all analog. We were going through, I mean, later on as I got better, you know, I started to experiment a little bit more with audio, but at that time it was pretty simple. It was not a lot of dynamic microphones. I think I used an 87 on his, U87 on his vocals, and I used, you know, Sennheisers on the piano, put him over the hammers, and he kicked the hell out of that piano. I mean, the piano just sounded amazing. And it was just two dynamic microphones on it, you know. The drums, you know, like I said, they were basically mono. If you listen to the stereo version of that record, which is, you know, the bass is a little bit to the left and the drums are a little bit to the right and the vocals in the center, it's not like stereo like now. It's because like I said, it was 8-track. So I kind of, you know, made sure I had, you know, I had to mix the toms and the overheads and everything together for manual. And you know, we tuned his drums. I helped, you know, James Gatson, you know, credits me with helping him tune his drums, you know, which is not true. But I did go out and I say, James, let's tune them, you know. Apparently he had never done that before, and he says, you know, you helped me do that. And I go, James, you know, come on. Yeah. You know, I was a kid, you know, I was just trying to, I went to work at A&M and I came home 4 years later. You know, I mean, I never left, you know, it was just, you know, I mean, I was there almost 20, you know, I'd go home, take a shower and come back. You know?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a wreck today, you know, like, you know, but anyway, look, I wouldn't trade it for, you know, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for, you know, well, if you asked me if I would trade it for a pension, depends on what day you would ask me. Because, you know, the record business, you leave with what you came with, you know, I mean, it wasn't like, it was always, you know, suspect. It was always, you know, you know, Cashbox used to have slot machines in there and, you know, I mean, and, you know, I mean, it was all kind of run by, A&M was really a unique place because they gave you profit sharing. If the records did good, as an employee, you got like you had a fund where when I left A&M, I had like $5,000 bonus, you know, just of because when the company did well, the employees did well, you know. So that was kind of an exception to the rule, I think, you know. But after that, it's just pretty much you got paid by the hour. There was no union or anything to be an engineer. You never got any royalties unless you were a producer. And they didn't care about you. They cared about NARAS cared about the producers. They really didn't care about engineers. So there was no, like in the motion picture business, there's a union and they have to pay you within 14 days and you get medical and you get those. The record business, none of that. You know. So anyway, it's another interview. But, back to Billy. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. But anyway, back to the question was, yeah, it was very productive. We didn't edit. We didn't. I don't recall. I mean, I've had other sessions that were, a lot more, took a lot more time and were more difficult than Billy's. Billy's was just pure fun. It was really fun. I mean, the music was great, and he'd go out and sing it, in those days too. I mean, there was no auto tunes or anything like that. They'd go out and sing it. The background singers would sing it from the beginning of the song to the end of the song. There was no flying of, or pitch correction. It was all, they were actually singing and playing, So it was a lot of fun. It was very productive, to answer your question.
So at that point in time, you mentioned Sly Stone. He was doing a riot going on, that same year.
Yeah, that's the record I was working on. That's the one I worked on with him. But I never, I think Andy Newmark was the drummer, and I think, that was the record I was working on. That's the one he wanted me. And I think the only reason he called me is because he had heard Billy's records Sly was, I never, he was kind of in a real whirlwind, I mean, he was doing a lot of coke and it was kind of the beginning of the end, he was missing, he got thrown out of his house and he was not showing up to concerts and stuff like that. And so, like I said, I mean, I was in, in a room with him and Billy, 8 in the morning, not doing really anything. But, I mean, it was, that's what we were all doing at that time. And so, but it wasn't really fun, because we weren't really making any music, I mean, I don't know. I didn't. And then I don't know what happened. I really don't recall what, I didn't finish any of that record. I did work on it with him, but, and Billy said, Sly's coming. I go, oh Christ, oh man, we're gonna be here for a while, we're gonna, I always kind of like to, I mean, other than that first record, we didn't work those kind of hours. I don't know why we did that. But, it was all mixed by hand, by the way. There was no automation. To this day, I wish I had taken the hi-hat out of the classical section and just made the classical section much, much louder so that it, and I could have made George Harrison sound a lot more glamorous than it was. I mean, but, I was a kid, I mean, it was the music. And the bottom line is that the music, is still great. It really doesn't, the audio, I get up every day thinking the audio makes a difference, but it really is about the music. I mean, all those Motown records were recorded in a room with a dirt floor,
That's right.
And some of those, horn parts are out of tune, and there's, but it doesn't matter because the songwriting is so great, and Smokey Robinson and the quality control of the music. I mean, the story, Barry, they'd have meetings about, okay, how many people think this is a hit, and they'd all vote, and then, so I mean, it's really about the music. It's not about the engineering. I like to believe it helps, and I do think it helps, but the bottom line is that you can record it in a closet, and if it's a great song, it'll be a hit, and some big records have been rough mixes that just put them out, and they become big hits. I mean, I Honestly Love You by what's her name? Bobby Brown's ex-wife.
Whitney Houston.
Whitney was a rough mix, and they never could, match it. It just kind of, that was a rough mix that Clive loved, and that was it. And it became a huge hit, anyway, that's what I